I really want to talk about briefly the process of getting an official diagnosis for autism, which is not something that you have pursued. But
Right.
we just spent a long time talking about all the steps you took to come to the conclusion that you're autistic.
Yeah.
Why? Our dog's yawning.
She's done.
Why are you not pursuing getting an official diagnosis?
Yeah. So the process for getting a diagnosis, you're probably going to have a recommendation from somebody, and then you're going to...
Like a referral.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're going to go get an assessment by somebody who's not like your personal therapist, but somebody who is just assessing you. And it's going to be hours and hours and hours of assessment. I think like 4 to 8 hours, somewhere within there.
Okay.
And it can be thousands of dollars. And there's often a long wait to be able to get in to have an assessment like that done.
How long?
Years sometimes that people will wait, 1 to 2 years to go get an assessment. And often it's a very unaffirming process. Because again, a lot of the people who are giving these assessments, the majority of the field has been trained in this very unaffirming way, that it looks this one way, like we've
Autism
researched
looks
way
one
in the
way.
past.
Yeah.
And you made eye contact with me during your assessment, you're not autistic. Well, every day as a child, my mother yelled at me for not making eye contact. Of course I made eye contact with you. That's something I've forced myself to be able to do. Or, well, you're a woman, so you're not autistic. Or you've held down a job, so you're not autistic. These are real things that people have heard in the room after waiting all this time and paying all this money to go in and have those questions asked. So it can be a very unaffirming process. There are some reasons that people unfortunately need to go through it.
Yeah, we've had people in our comments talking about needing an official diagnosis so that they can get food stamps.
Yeah, that they're dealing with such severe traits, whether it's like social stuff or overstimulation or whatever, that they can't be in a work environment and they can't make ends meet. They need support. They might need accommodations at their job that they do have. Something needs to give. They need an official diagnosis to be able to access accommodations that I think should just be available to humans. But yeah, so it's very unaffirming. There are some reasons that people need that. Thankfully, I don't need accommodations in my life because our life has very much been able to just accommodate me, that I work from home. And so I don't have to navigate a job or an outside job. And our life is very autism friendly. We've changed a lot of things in our life since learning. I was dealing with a lot of burnout before we knew.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't help me at all to go get an assessment. It's like if I had been born with 3 legs and somebody's like, you want to go get that checked out? Would you like a doctor to look at you and tell you if you really have 3 legs or not? And it's like, you can count them. Like, it exists. I know what's going on. And there are a lot of other autistic people in the same boat where, like, they've done the research, where they've noticed all the signs and traits like we've talked about during the episode. They know that these things are true for them. And while in a lot of things, like, we figure an official diagnosis is standard, it's very valid in the autistic community to go, like, I don't need to go through this process to know something that I know. We joke about autistic folks being peer reviewed too, that like your autistic friends recognize your traits as well.
Right,
but like
right.
you can, if you need the accommodations, you need them. But you're valid. They're like, you know this about you. And yeah, so when it comes to me, I think that there's a lot of pressure from the outside world to get an assessment, get a doctor's stamp of approval on whether or not you are. And it's like, I know that I exist. And it's very freeing. And I think that it's been a big part of this advocacy within the community to go like, we know.
What do you say to the people who are in our comments addressing us directly. We've seen this saying you have to get a diagnosis. Like, you don't know until you get a diagnosis. What's your message to them? I got you. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's basically the way that I feel. It's so immediately obvious that there's either a lack of education or a lack of recent education about what's going on. And it's like, that could have been me a couple years ago. I didn't tend to tell people about shit I didn't know about when I didn't know about it. But, it could have been me. I didn't know anything about autism. It's why I looked at every other option before I got here, because I had this old standard view of what that was.
Of what autism is.
Yeah. But of course you think that if you've been taught this one standard old view and you're uncomfortable with things that are unfamiliar to you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't serve anybody. And it's the same thing. Like, people are the expert in their own life.
Yeah.
Nobody needs you showing up, knowing nothing, and watching a 48-second clip and going, I know you're not autistic. Okay, great. Let's switch brains for a day.
Try me, motherfucker.
Try it out. How are those clothes feeling now?
We even got a comment like, she doesn't look autistic, and I was like, man, you don't know her at all. Like, she's autistic, homie. I don't know what you're talking about.
I forget, but I think I'm swaying back and forth now. I think something was happening in that literal moment when we got the comment, and it was like, look at you.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, people can believe the things that make their world a small and safe and knowable place, but like, the autistic community, like, we know what's going on. And if you're uncertain, not only do you have the option of going through this process of trying to get an assessment, but if you're questioning this for yourself, it's also a valid route to like just go talk to somebody who's affirming, who understands autism, who understands what we know about it now, and who can talk you through that process.
If we want to reach out to somebody who's affirming,
do we know anybody?
I think we can think of a few people, right?
Okay, cool.
Where's a good place that we might get connected with some resources?
I Married Your Therapist on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can email the podcast, imarriedyourtherapist@gmail.com. I believe we have a cat in the way of the camera. Thanks. Hi, YouTube. And you can find me specifically at therapywith_Ash on Instagram.
And I want to shout out something different than we normally would. Your private practice website.
Oh, yeah.
Has a page for people who are looking for autism resources.
Yes.
That might be very helpful for somebody who's looking for like self-assessment or more information, where they can kind of pursue this education for themselves. AshTreeCounselingCenter.com has resources that will direct you to other assessments. We have a blog post about autism, a couple different ones, and some great resources on there.